everybody. I'm Helen Wilson, Vice President of the Squirrel Hill Historical Society, and I was just told I should maybe be the one to welcome you. Our president, Jim Hammond, couldn't be here, but we do have some board members. And Toby Chapman, Evelyn Young, Audrey Glickman is on the video, Todd Wilson, Tony Indovina. Anytime you email the Squirrel Hill Historical Society, Tony gets it. And did I miss anybody?
Yes.
Todd Miller is the person who schedules.
Along with Toby.
Toby and Todd are our program schedulers. And I don't really have any announcements except that you might have seen in our newsletter if you're members, and if not, we have a flyer back there. We have our annual Turner Cemetery History Walk this coming Saturday, October 12th, from 12 to 3. And this Turner Cemetery is it's 3424 Beechwood Boulevard on that horribly busy stretch of Beechwood between Bronze Hill Road and the Parkway. And that cemetery began in 1785. It has the earliest settlers of Squirrel Hill. It has Civil War veterans. It has a penmanship teacher from Duff's Business College. And the latest burial is 2017, believe it or not. So anyway, please come and find out more about the early history of Squirrel Hill. And I am now going to pass the mic to Evelyn, who will introduce our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. Good evening. I'm happy to see all of you here. It's a beautiful evening to be out here. And Happy New Year. Dragon Den's concept was conceived 17 years ago by the founder on her honeymoon with her husband, who's here, Bill. And 8 years later, the church was purchased by the founder for Dragon's Den. I was honored to be one of the founding board members. The vision and the dream that Giulia and Bill had has now been realized. So I have the privilege tonight to introduce my friend, Giulia Lozza Petrucci, who is the executive director of Dragon's Den, a nonprofit organization housed in the former St. Mary Magdalene Church, and it was very dusty and did a lot of hard work to make it so beautiful. It's housed in Amity Street in Homestead, and over the next hour, she will discuss the history of the building and how Dragon's Den innovative program teach youth from diverse background and ability to overcome challenges in themselves, their community, and their world. I present you my good friend, Giulia.
Thank you so much. I wanted to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to be in front of you and share a beautiful story. And I want to warn you, Dragon's Den is like my third child. And you know what happens with mothers when they talk about their children. We can go on forever, especially because in this case, I found out that I was going to have triplet. I didn't know when we started the project. So we are going to cover a lot of material tonight, and I would like to do it in a way that it's you can interrupt me because I am from Italy, so it's good to interrupt in Italy. And why is it so good? It shows that you are following me, you are interested. So feel good to interrupt me any moment you wish, because for any question, because I'm here with my husband and he is the co-founder. If we don't have the answer, you are not going to get them anywhere else, okay? So, again, I'm very excited to be here. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the past of the Dragon's Den, the present, and the future. I'm going to answer questions like what, where, how, and why. But there is one question that I won't answer until the very end, and is, why did you guys decide to do it? And that will be at the very, very end. So stay with me, and let's start. Okay, what is and what was Dragon's Den? So, Dragon's Den today is a youth development center, and it's located in the historic St. Mary Magdalene. St. Mary Magdalene was abandoned for over 10 years when my husband and I saw it while we were going to a party in Homestead that was organized by our church. It had a for sale sign, and my husband, and I want to underline, it was his idea, the first one. He said he wanted to have a big building to create the oratorio in Pittsburgh. So the oratorio, it's very common in Italy, and I come from Italy. I come actually from Lake Como, where George Clooney has his villa. Normally people want to know where I come from. The oratorio, it's a safe space next to every church where kids walk to independently. And we do all kinds of activities at the oratorio. We meet friends, we play, we study, we do everything there. And with two kids that I have here, I thought that this concept was missing. The past. This is my beautiful third child. So, Mary Magdalene, this on the left is the way it looks right now, and on the right, it's the way it used to look before it burned down by a fire. So at the very beginning, I told you that it's a story of resilience and faith. The first, that's my child. So the first person that showed resilience in this story is St. Mary Magdalene. And because I know you are very interested in the history here, I read some important points, and then we'll have like a slide later if we are interested, but I'll keep the time. So let me tell you a little bit about St. Mary Magdalene and Homestead. On September 1st, 1880, the borough of Homestead was incorporated. And why am I talking about the borough? Because the destiny of St. Mary Magdalene and the borough, they're very connected. And you know the history of Homestead and how it collapsed with when the steel industry collapsed. So you understand why we needed to make this correlation. In February 1881, St. Mary Magdalene Parish was formed. The first Mass was actually held in a grocery store, making it the first Catholic church in the area. The history of St. Mary Magdalene and Homestead have been intertwined from the very beginning. In 1886, Carnegie Steel purchased the Clowman Mill in Homestead, marking the emergence of the town as a significant steel city. The famous labor strike also impacted St. Mary Magdalene. Excavation for the church began in 1892, but was delayed due to that strike. The cornerstone for the current church structure was laid on October 20, 1895. And the first Mass was held in a church, in the new church, on December 13, 1896. The estimated value was $150,000 at the time, but it also included, and some of you might know, the famous St. Mary Cemetery that was 13.5 acres. Notably, Andrew Carnegie donated the church organ, and Schwab, as C.M. Schwab, provided all of the electrical wiring. On March 13, 1932, the original church structure was devastated by a massive fire. On May 21st, 1936, the new church was dedicated. While the new structure did not include the spiral towers of the original, it was built 30 feet longer. And this is actually where the Dragons Den operate right now. St. Mary Magdalene Parish grew and prospered as the steel industry flourished in Homestead, only to experience a decline as the industry itself waned. In 1881, there were 35 families in the parish. By 1967, this number had grown to 1,175 families. In 1914, the population of Homestead was recorded at 21,256. So, we operate in a Homestead, and as we know, it used to be a thriving community, but once the steel industry collapsed, Homestead lost its economic basis. So when my husband and I saw the church, it was abandoned for over 10 years. And a little bit about, I would like to share a little bit about the community. St. Mary Magdalene was an icon for the community of Homestead. Remember, it was the first Catholic church. When the diocese communicated that they needed to shut down, the community raised $500,000 to keep it open. With a spaghetti dinner, fundraiser, they did so much work. But still, the diocese, like a few years later, couldn't keep the church open, and they closed it. Once we found it was in a very, very bad condition. And the borough of Homestead, the people from the borough of Homestead told me that they were already putting aside funds to tear it down. So it sounded that St. Mary survived 2 major fires, and one, actually it was 3 fires, but the third one they were able to contain. But it looked like for a moment that it was not going to contain what was happening economically in the area. I can skip this. So I found this information that I thought it was very, very interesting. And we had one of our board members that is collected a lot of material about St. Mary. So when I asked him, can you share something with me for tonight? And he was kind enough to share these documents that he had and articles. So I you can see the St. Mary, the original one with the big steeples that were then destroyed by the fire. And then this is the school that was connected. And this was very interesting because I never heard about that. And it's like the biography of Reverend John Bullion, who was the pastor for St. Mary for 17 years. But what I thought it was very, very interesting is how they describe him. Of German extraction, physical, strong, and sanguine in temperament. In 17 years, he was never absent from his church but one Sunday. And now that I am the executive director and I have a big team, and I have a team with mental days and break and all that, and I thought, oh my goodness, look at what it took to build something like the church, because he was basically the only pastor for 17 years. With him, the congregation grew tremendously until it reached 2,000 people. The church had the capacity of 1,400 people at that time. The models and the floor plans. So, when I talk about us finally buying this church in 2015, people said, "What did you find?" And we found a lot of garbage and accumulation, 50 extra large dumpster of accumulation. That was the first thing we did. But we did find something interesting. And one of the things, we had a safe that was closed. And the other thing, we found these models. Okay, so this is the accurate architectural model of St. Mary Magdalene Church in Homestead that is assumed to have been crafted in 1895 by architect Frederick Sauer. This is the last remaining evidence of what this historic building looked like before its destruction by fire in 1936. So what I was able to do with the support of the Rivers of Steel, we applied for a grant, and a matching grant, and we had a donor that helped us, and so we were able to restore it together with the help of a curator from the Carnegie Museum. And you can see the inside. So you can see the altar, and you can see inside. You can actually see the benches. There are even the frescoes inside. So you cannot see the frescoes outside, you can see it from the inside. It's so interesting. But one thing that the curator pointed out to me is this. Look at the difference in sizes before the Depression and after the Depression of the model, because they had so much, more means at that time, and when they rebuilt the second model, this is the way the church, the Dragon's Den looks like. And you see the difference in sizes. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And here a little bit of the details. This is inside the model. But the first picture there is what we found in the safe. So there was still the chalice, and there was still, the support for the candle and the bell that they used during masses. And it was interesting because all my friends wanted to know what was inside the church, and when I sent the email, they thought it was unbelievable, and we went like viral. I don't know, everybody was sharing. And I thought it was very interesting. This is a part that my husband is an engineer, would not have been able to do this without him. And he said, you need to share that information. So the entire church, I repeat, the entire church was built using only 7 plants. And we found them. We found them in the basement in a garbage bag. The present. Here is Dragon's Den. The first picture, it was a rendering that a friend of mine from Italy did for us, because when I started having this idea of building a ropes course inside the church, and I started going around and talk about that, nobody understood what a ropes course was. And let me tell you where the idea came from. When we saw the church and we decided, this is something that this church deserves to be saved, and this community should put so much effort to keep the doors open, I said, okay, we are going to do the oratorio here, the safe place where kids from the area can walk to us. We have a park, we have actually one park right in front of the Dragon's Den, and we have a playground in the back that it's owned by Propel, but we can use it. But then, when I looked at the building is really big. I have here a video that hopefully will give you an idea, but I can tell you that one of my favorite comments from somebody from Italy that had seen more than 1,000 pictures. It was the designer of the ropes course. When he came to the Dragon's Den, he said, "Wow." And I'm like, "You saw 1,000 pictures of them?" I mean, and he's like, "Yeah, but the Dragon's Den, it's like the pyramids in Egypt. Doesn't matter how many pictures you have seen, you need to be there to enjoy it. So please come and visit us." So why the ropes course? The ropes course idea happened because I saw the church is like a cathedral. It has 52 foot high ceiling. And I kept thinking, I have a background of business, and I'm like, if the diocese closed it, how am I going to keep it open with free programs? I need an idea. I need an idea that can bring revenues. I need an idea where I have free programs, and then I can create revenues so those revenues can actually pay for the free programs. And I kept thinking, and also I wanted initially to have a second floor because I thought so I can just heat half of the building and I have another floor if I need it. And then I went to Italy with my kids, and my kids went to a ropes course. So with my aunt, normally the ropes courses are outside, out in a forest actually. And so what it is, a ropes course, you move from one tree to another tree. They build a platform on trees, balancing on cables or drawbridges or zip lines, things like that. And my kids came home and they were over the moon. So my kids are very shy. They played piano professionally, so they didn't play sport because they were so careful about the fingers. And because of that, they had really problem connecting with a lot of kids. And to see them so enthusiastic, I was like, what is a ropes course? And my little one was like, you walk in the clouds, you walk in the air, and you think, I'm going to die. But then you don't. And then you feel great because you don't. And I was like, okay, I'm confused here. So I got the car, went on top of the mountain, really on top of the mountain, and I saw this thing. And I saw a lot of buses there, school buses. So in Italy, field trips must be educational. You can't go to Kennywood. And at that point, I'm like, what's educational about balancing and zip line from one part to another one? I was very confused, so I talked to teachers, and they told me that the ropes courses are part of the curriculum in school because what you learn there, it's very easy to transfer in school. So problem solving, making a plan. You imagine yourself, you're on top of a platform, and you see a challenge and say, okay, how am I going to go from here to there? And you make a plan in your head. Well, I put my left leg here, I'm going to hold on this and everything. And then you put your foot. And then the challenge, the game, doesn't respond as you thought. And then you need to adjust and make another plan. And then trust the equipment that you have. So there is a lot of elements that with the briefing, it's very easy to transfer in other part of your life, the kid's life. And when I found out this, I spent 6 months of researching. I love research, and I'm like, if I need to do something like that, I want to make sure to make a difference. And I was convinced that this was the right thing. So now we have 2 levels in our ropes course, and then the cable that you see in the middle is a 160-foot zip line connecting the choir loft to the former altar. So you can zip through, and one of the one of the idea came because one of our board members told me he was married there, and he said, you know, it's the longest. That church was the longest, and I was on the altar, and I saw my bride walking and walking, and I kept thinking, what if she changes her mind? Okay, and how did we do it? Well, community support. We had so many people helping us. The first thing we did with this crazy idea was to present the idea to the Borough of Homestead. They loved it. I don't know if they loved the idea or they loved the fact that they didn't have to take it down that. Name. So a lot of questions that normally I get is Dragon's Den, where does it come from? So it's from the community. I am Catholic, and I love God. So to me, that was God's house. And I felt very uncomfortable to do something in God's house, and even changing the name. And I had to change the name. And so I decided that the best thing would be to ask the community and priest, a lot of priests, about a name. So I came out with 5,000 flyers that I distributed everywhere in Homestead, retirement houses, the library, in every store. And I said, this is what we want to do here for children, and we need a name. So we had 100 people sending me emails, and 3 people sent me names related to the dragons. One was Dragon's Lair, and 2 were Dragon's Den. And in one email that I'll never forget, I still have, they said, you want to preserve our beautiful church, preserve our name. The dragon was a mascot in St. Mary Magdalene Church. And people were still very proud. They still were aware and kept their jersey and going around because they were very strong as a team. So the idea was between Dragon's Lair or Dragon's Den. So I had a focus group of adults and then children. And that was my first lesson with children that comes with challenges. So I had a kid that was autistic, and I was talking about should we choose. I had the first 10. One of the names that was my favorite was the Flying Nun. So Dragon's Lair and Dragon's Den. And this kid got up and he taught me a word. He said, Dragon's Den, because of the alliteration. And I was like, yes, that's how the name came. Volunteers, 80 volunteers. And a lot of work and a lot of faith, because we had all our challenges. Every time get to a block was like, okay, we can't continue. I would say, hey, you know what, this is for you. So, or you solve it, or I'm doing something else. And he has been there all the time. We have so many miracles, but I don't have the time to tell you tonight. Maybe a couple, we'll see. Okay, first thing he did, he applied for historic recognition. And the reason for it is because our lawyer, that was one of the Sisters of Charity, told me, you know, you need to keep the ownership of the building and make sure that it's historic, because otherwise the board can decide to sell it and tear it down. And this, you put so much effort into it, so if it's something that it's important, that's the only way to preserve it. So that's the first thing he did. And this is where we started.
I remember.
Yes.
It was really dirty.
It was dirty. There was no electricity, no heating, no water. there was, as I said, 50 extra large dumpster of accumulation.
And then the roof leaked.
The roof leaked everywhere. It's still, we just fixed another leak last week. We changed part of the roof, and then we kept the original tiles so that we could fix the rest. But it has been a lot of work. What am I forgetting about one of the challenges? My engineers knows everything.
We don't have time.
We don't have the time. And we want to keep it nice. It was a lot of work, but we had a lot of help. We remade, that's a new floor. I wanted a little stage, because in the oratorio there is always a little stage, because we do plays for the family, and especially that are related to the gospel, basically. Our volunteers were from very, very young to not so young. Local, non-local. You wanted to work, the doors were open. We provide food and drink and pizza, come and work. A lot of the original volunteers were our board members, and it's them. And I told them when I invited them on the board, this is a board where you need to work. And here it is. A dream comes true. You can see on the left when we were assembling, and then the end result. So, how did we build it? This is one of the miracles. When I went on the ropes course, I went to see the ropes course where my children went. Coming home, I started thinking, you know, all those trees, they reminded me of all the columns. You see how many columns? And I'm like, what if we build a ropes course inside the church? Because Pittsburgh weather, it's not that nice. We have it inside. It's like having 2 floors, and we can create revenues. So I called my husband, and I'm the creative one, and then my husband is the engineer. He pulled me down. And he's like, Giulia, I had the same idea, but I thought it was so crazy, I would have never mentioned it. And so at that point, we were like, we're on the same page. So next step, I came back to Pittsburgh after the presentation with the borough. I called the owner of that ropes course where my kids went, sent all those pictures, and I said, can this be built inside? And they said yes. And then I said, can you come and design it for us? So they, my husband and I paid for their tickets, and they stayed at my house for 3 weeks. And during the day, they visited Pittsburgh, but then in a true Italian style. At 10 p.m., we started working on my dining room table and designed everything. And this was, and you know, once we built it, we were like, we built it our own. I have to tell you this. Why did we build it our own? Because we raised through individual donation and major donors, but individual $200,000. And I thought, wow, we did great, right? Until I got the first quote. $800,000 was the cheapest to build the ropes course, and 1.4 was the most expensive. They didn't want to use natural material like wood, but plastic and metal. So at that point, I'm like, how are we going to do it? So I called back the person from Italy, the designer, and I said, can you come and teach us how to build it? And he came back, and we had our volunteers. Most of the volunteers are engineers that work at HDR, where my husband worked. So together, we were able to build the course for a little bit less than $200,000. So great, right? But then what? We had no money whatsoever to hire any staff. So we thought, well, let's start raising more funds. And this is actually a video. Let me see if I can play the video. Oops. So the first event was for a local artist that was releasing his album, and he didn't have any funds. And he was looking for a location, and I said, you can come for free, you just give us a percentage of your tickets. And it was really fantastic. And we raised the fund this way, and we were like, oh, this is a good way. But this was February 2020. A month later, this is when the fund started. Okay. And so I was mentioning about the miracles. So we discussed with the board, we should actually open now, because now that the schools are closed, the other non-profit are closed, the libraries are closed, and the children we want to live are, the children that we want to help live with families that sometimes are not safe, we should do it now. And I said, well, yeah, but we don't have money. How are we going to hire anybody? Well, one day we had Robert Levine and his wife, Dr. Carrie Brown, and they came in to meet me and said, and Robert told me, you know, I've been looking for, looking at everything you were doing for a while, because we had a board member that was a family member. And so I want to help you. And he handed me a check that paid for 3 years all our staff. And this is how we were able to start. And this is my chair at that time. She always said, there is no way we can put it off. And I just could feel it. And I said, you need to have faith. Something is going to happen. So when that happened, she said, you know what, I think I'm becoming religious with you. Let me see if I can play this. Yes.
Hello and welcome to
This
Dragon's
is Dragon's Den. So you have a
In
little
the
bit
heart
of
of
an idea.
Homestead, the historic St. Mary Magdalene's Church now holds a bold, non-profit community development center that includes an indoor obstacle course and offers innovative team-building activities. The Dragon's Den empowers youth of all abilities and backgrounds while they play, socialize, and learn. It has been our pleasure to work with dozens of local schools, universities, and organizations to offer exciting and engaging workshops. A Dragon's Den workshop includes the full challenge course experience as well as unique, individually tailored team-building activities, all at a significantly discounted rate. Our challenge course includes an upper and lower level to accommodate all ages, a 160-foot zip line, and a rock climbing wall, all totaling over 800 feet of challenges in a renovated historic building, the only indoor challenge course built in a former church in the world. We work with every group joining us for a workshop to create a unique experience.
Okay, so what is Dragon's Den now? I was telling you that my idea was to create an oratorio, an adaptation of the oratorio. So I had a couple of Italian friends that came in, and she said, no, Giulia, this is oratorio on steroids. So I've been using that. Initially, our idea was to serve all children, but because of the pandemic, the school couldn't come to us because they were closed. So we started serving children in the community and families. And the reason why we were able to open was because I took pictures of the ropes course and I sent it to the Department of Health, and I said, I can endorse, I can make sure that we have more than 6 feet distances at all the time. We had an incredible protocol where every 2 hours we disinfected the entire course with alcohol that was donated by a partner organization, and none of us got sick. The first year we tracked 5,000 people that visited us. In the first 18 months we tracked 5,000 people on the course, allowing just maximum 10 people every 2 hours. And this is the Dragon's Den with my children. We are really a family. And we have seen kids really growing with us. We opened September 2020, so it's just 4 years. But the lives that we have impacted, it's incredible. We have kids, we serve kids that have been expelled from school and from their after-school program, that are labeled like, you know, there is nothing you can do about that. And they have become incredibly, I cannot even describe what individual they are. And it's touching our lives and the staff life every day. And the beautiful part is that they remember when the change happened in their lives. So they come to me and say, Miss Giulia, do you remember when I was a bully? And you know, once they even told this in front of a foundation. Miss Giulia, do you remember when I came in, I was punching everybody and I broke that kid's nose? And I was like, okay, this is the foundation. And then, but now I am so good and I have good grades. So the ropes course helps. The ropes course really helps for them to look at one challenge at a time. The debriefing that we do after the ropes course is even more helpful. Let me give you an example. We have kids that are on the upper course or one challenge and they are afraid. It's 18 feet up and it's scary, the upper course. So we take notes. And then in the end, we say, hey, you know, Peter, we have noticed that you were on that challenge, number 17, for several minutes. Can you please tell us which thoughts told you that you could do it? Or, if they couldn't do it, which thoughts told you you couldn't do it? And then we say, well, where can any of you, because it's always a group, realize and recognize these thoughts outside the ropes course? And very often it's in their families, it's in school, maybe in front of a math problem that is very difficult. And they're like, okay, so what would that help? And we go through this organization and it's changed life. Safety, safety, safety. If you come to the Dragon's Den and ask our kids, I know that you have 3 rules at the Dragon's Den and 3 rules only. Everybody, our 51 kids that we serve now in our after-school program, they will say safety, safety, safety. So we imported from Italy a safe system. So our kids, once they do the ropes course, there is a point of entrance and then they cannot disconnect themselves until the very end. We have a ground school. This is when we teach them exactly how to use the harness and the carabiner, and then they're ready to go. Now we are more than a challenge course. Now we are after school program, Monday to Friday. We serve 51 kids. They start walking in at 2:30. They leave at 6. We have summer camps. This year we serve more than 400 kids. We have workshops for other schools and or universities that they come to us. We have field trips for our kids. And then birthday parties on the weekend. So we raise the funds that then we invest 100% in our free programs. This is something that actually I recently created because it was very difficult for me as a founder to communicate with everybody what I was trying to do. And so I used AI to create this one. And it's the Pillars of Potential, a child journey at the Dragon's Den. So all our programs, after school program and summer camps, have 5 pillars. Nutrition, because we serve, as soon as our kids come in, they have a healthy snack, they have dinner during the winter. during our after-school program. They also get a grocery bag to bring home to other siblings and their family and their families. In summer, we serve breakfast, lunch, and a heavy snack, and still give a bag of groceries. Physical activities, because our kids need physical activities after sitting for so many hours. A lot of our kids, as I was explaining, they come with very challenging background and undiagnosed or underdiagnosed challenges. And so physical activity is something that absolutely we need to do. The academics, that's really the fun part. We are trying to have as many volunteers as possible. I see a lot of people here that they could come and mentor and sit with our kids, even just half an hour for reading. Reading is the biggest challenge. We have kids that are 13 years old and they cannot read. And it's devastating. I tell my staff, please never think that our after-school program and our summer camps are free. They are not. The children are giving us what they have most precious, which is their childhood. If we don't use this window of opportunity, where are they going to be? So the Dragons Den is an adaptation of the oratorio. Kids learn and play in structured and unstructured way. The kids learn life skills and kids dreams beyond their reality. We use STEAM every day. It's STEM or art, and we do it through 40 partnership around Pittsburgh. They come and they teach one STEM activity or an art activity. And last year we added mental health. Every year that we are in operation, we started with the nutrition, as you can see, then physical activity, then academic, because we just answer the needs of our children. I realized that even if we provided all that, I could not change their life if mentally they were not healthy and we didn't support them mentally. So this is our mission. It's long and it's complicated, and so I just always say that we just teach our children to dream beyond their reality, what they see. We wanted to expose them to as much as possible so that they can become passionate about something and then really work hard for it. After 4 years, we are now open 7 days a week. We serve around 3,500 kids and family every year, and we have 40 established partnerships. The future, so this was the present, the future, we are becoming a think tank. We have so many incredible results that we're like, why keeping it for ourselves? So we are starting workshop with for teachers and administrators, and we worked during the last year and a half with 2 PhD psychologists. One is in Pittsburgh, was a Pitt psychologist. Now he's Dr. Leibovitz, very well known. And then we have Dr. Meyer, he is in Israel. And with them, Dr. Meyer used to be the head of the Department of Transportation at CMU. He is a brain researcher, and 20 years ago he received a $17 million grant to study how we make decisions. Of that, it's a long, long story, but we've been working together and we developed a curriculum that we are about to pilot that I really think it's going to transform the way we teach kids in school. And the base of the curriculum is that, let me show you. Okay, this is the curriculum that I'm talking about. It's called the Mindful Young Minds. And the concept is, we cannot tell you or change. We cannot tell you what to think. So imagine, a lot of our kids come from the foster system. They have parents that are incarcerated. They have siblings that died for overdose, and they met them. And their story is something that I cannot even start describing. I give you just a hint. First year, it was Halloween. And I told my kids, it was 2020, hey, what do you want? What are you afraid of? And you know, thinking about my kids, I thought spiders or bats or snakes. And this little kid, 6 years old, being shot in the knee. And I'm like, excuse me, what did you say? Being shot in the knee, and I'm like, I'm confused. I understand being shot, but why in the knee? Oh yes, because that's what they do. They shoot you in the knee, and then you cannot work, and then you cannot support your family. So this is the kids, 20 minutes from here. The system used icons to teach how to deal with stress and anxiety. We don't teach kids what to think because it's impossible. They will always think about the trauma in their life, but we teach them how to think about that, because if we change the way you think about that, then we change the way they feel, and then we change the way they act. So one of my favorites, green doors versus red doors, very, very simple. Each of us make 30,000 decisions a day. That's why we have anxiety, we have overwhelmed. But every decision, it's just binary. Or you do that or you don't. And so we created this in our facility. Which door do you open? And they connect. It really is so simple. This is, I have a couple of impact stories, but it's late. So I'm going just to tell you one. The backboard design is where we start with our kids. The cheese and the mouse. I sit with them and I say, what is your dream? And it's very difficult for them to dream. But once you have the dream, everything makes sense. So we had this kid, very violent, has been expelled several schools. He came very violent with our kids. And then with love, I call it radical love. This is the first thing when I hire somebody, and I said, you need to have radical love at the Dragons, then otherwise you're not a good fit. With radical love, you created this relationship, this trust. And then he discovered that he wanted to be an architect, and go to CMU. So we work, and I said, okay, the cheese is the CMU. Now let's work backwards. What do you need to do today to get there? So he said, well, having good grade. And then suddenly, he started being an excellent student, to the point that this year, that kid finished 8th grade. His mother was killed in February. It was all over the news. He came to me to make sure that I would not talk to the media. His father never been in the picture. His grandmother and aunts in a different state, so they came here. That kid finished as valedictorian this year. That's how this system works. This is another impact story, but we skip it. Okay, how can you help? Become a mentor, share your skills, share your stories, come and talk about your job. Remember, we need to teach our kids to dream beyond being an athlete, because that's what they relate to. There are other jobs for them. You can donate or you can follow us on social media. Thank you, and please come and visit. And remember what I said? The why. Because of Carola. Carola is my daughter, so I put it in the end because I tend to cry. Let's see if I can do it. Okay, so Carola is a recognized miracle by the doctor. She was a C-section. It was an emergency. She was born, no signs. and I make a vow. And the dragon's den is the answer. I said, God, you save my daughter, I save your children. Thank you.
Giulia, tell them how old Carol is.
21. And she is perfectly healthy. My doctor said, you know, we will see, we need to check if she can read, if she can walk, because she was without oxygen for a long time. So she had the umbilical cord around her neck twice and 2 true knocks. So even one of this would, the doctors called me. In this country, the doctor called me saying, we received the results of the, the umbilical cord test. We as doctor, as medicine, there is no reason why this girl is alive. And so when somebody said, well, why did you do it? It took me 20 years to be able to talk about that because I just couldn't. And this year I said it's about time that I say how we could do it and the reason. And she was the first one among all my friends that she would be able to talk, the first one to walk, the first one to read. It was like she knew that for us was so scary, you know. But she's doing well, and she's doing university now. She's becoming a social worker, of course. So it runs in the family. But thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. If you have any question, we have 3 minutes.
How do you get your clientele? I mean, how do the kids know to go there, and how does that work?
Yes, so the kids now, they walk to us after school independently. So the school is over, they just walk to us. Initially, when nobody knew that we were there, I met the kids where they were. So what I did, I went to the park and I went to actually the basketball court. I was the only white, and my kids and I, they were like, Mama, you are crazy. and I would just say, hey, I come from Italy, we play soccer, can you please teach me how to do basketball? And this is how I started, or just to push the kids to the swing. But these kids need so much that the moment they see love and care, they don't see your color, they don't see your age. I was sick the last month, and I was out for a couple of weeks. When I came in, all the kids, I mean, it was almost scary. They came like a tsunami all over me to hug me and kiss me and to tell me everything that they did and the drawing. So it was natural. It's one kid, and then you start with one kid, that kid talk to another and another one. This year, our goal for the after-school program was to serve 50 kids. Then it's 51 because somebody in the software made a mistake. And we thought, oh, we have like 6 months, to make sure that we have these kids consistently. We opened the enrollment 4 days. We have 51 kids and 2 dozen on a waiting list. And my coordinator said, we can actually have 100 more. Or where are we going to put them? So there is the rectory, a building next to the church that I apply for grants to see if we can develop so we can serve more children. Thank you for the question.
A question from our online viewer is, what school do most of the children go to that attend the program?
Propel School is right across the street. And Steel Valley, so Barrett School, those are the main kids. But I have to say, during the summer camps, we open to other kids, not just in our family, so in our community, because I want for the kids to learn from other kids. So we have like 25% of kids that are paying kids, and they pay $340 for 1 week, for 5 days. And to me it's very important because once I see all these kids coming back and spending that kind of money for 6-7 weeks, it's telling me that I'm really offering a good product, a good program for all the children. So a lot of children comes from Squirrel Hill and Shadyside, and we have also other kids on a scholarship that are from other areas. So for the first time this year, we noticed that parents actually drive the kids to our after-school program. But for the after-school program, it's completely free, so you need to demonstrate the need.
My grandson came in from New York for the summer, for one-day summer program. I remember that.
Yes. Any other question?
Yeah, the model that you showed in the beginning, what material was it made of?
It was wood and paper.
It's amazing that it survived.
Yes. And even the stand, it was, the curator noticed that even the stand was like a recycled wood of fruit crates. And it was interesting, they really didn't waste anything. Thank you.
How do you discover that a child can't read?
You know how? It's a very, very good question. Because whenever there is an activity for where reading is involved, the child acts up and becomes violent. And so I know the kids want to do well. So I started wondering, why? Because we are not a school, right? And they didn't want to be part of the activity. So I called them in the office and we talked, and then I said, hey, I never put, because it's all about building self-confidence, and that's why we have a ropes course. So I start like, I read first, and I have a tremendous advantage. I have an accent. So I tell the kid, oh, how do you pronounce the present? And so they start helping me, and during the process, I see where they struggle. Thank you for the question.
Is your place open to the public to visit?
Yes, so on the Saturday and Sunday, we are open to the public. Anybody can go, buy a ticket, go with the family, do the ropes course, or celebrate a birthday. Birthdays are very, very, we are highly requested for the birthday party. In fact, if you Google Dragon's Den, you will see we have 5 stars from hundreds of people that came for the birthday party. We do a very good job, and it's interesting that even if you do the ropes course just once, you see the change that makes in the child. The first time that we realized about the potential of the ropes course was for an autistic kid that came during COVID. He had a mask, he was not verbal, and initially he came with the father, and he didn't want any of us around, and he went with the father one Sunday, then came back, and then came back, and then came back, and the last day he was able to do the entire course. It took him like 4 hours. And then I saw the father crying, and for a moment I was like, oh, what happened? And he's like, did you see that he raised the mask and covered his nose? And I was confused. And he said he could never do that. So the results of doing this challenge and having the time to think how to use your equipment really makes a change. Thank you for the question.
How old are the children that do this?
So we started serving children at 5 years old. So in order to do the ropes course, you need to be 5. And the oldest person that we had was 91. It was, do you remember? It was the first birthday we had. And I'm like, I'm not judgmental. So my manager said, we have this lady who wants to come. And I said, what are you talking about? Maybe she's healthier and fitter than us. Well, that day she came in with a walker. I'll never forget, because I said, this is the first birthday, it's the 1 month we are open, we are going to close.
Did she do it?
She did it. She did the zip line. She said it was on her bucket list. She did she came down very fast. Taking her down from when she arrived, it was like 20 minutes. And my staff, they were all young men. They were like, I don't know, Giulia, where? Because she was suspended and they were trying to help. They didn't know where to touch. So, but it was phenomenal. And she told me, you know, Giulia, I was here for my baptism, for my communion, for my confirmation, for my wedding, and I'm like, oh my goodness, after that there is just one left.
This is for you, but also for Todd and Toby. Maybe the Squirrel Hill Historical Society could plan a trip there?
Sure.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you. That would be really great. They would love to meet you, and and we are very close. We are really, from here it's like 15 minutes, so, and there is so much need. And they just, if you need love, somebody that loves you, they know how to love.
The stained glass windows in the church, are they still there, or were they removed before you bought the church?
No, they were removed, and the stained glass window, it's actually another interesting story. Every time that the parishioner would come in, they would tell me about how upset they were about the stained glass window. So what I did, I hired a local artist, and now we painted all of them with a dragon, with kids, with so everybody forgets about that. And we are very happy they are not there, because one of the biggest window changes all the time, because we can see trees with the leaves that changes, we can see the snow, we can see the weather, and so we are like, hey, you know what, God closed one door and definitely open a window.
Yeah, they're actually at a church up in, they took them out, stored them, and then they built a church to the specification of those windows up in Wexford. So if you look at that church, and I forget what it's, St. Malachi, or not St. Malachi, I can't remember the name of it, but Alexis, I think it is. If you see the pictures of the church, it has the same form. You know, it's a very similar, but it's modern, so it's not the same, but that's what the windows are.
No more questions? Thank you so much.